Back on the record in cause number 328344, cases style, the state of Texas versus Oswaldo Elizondo Jimenez. And we have Mr. Jimenez appearing before the court with his attorney. That's where. Okay. Mr. Jimenez, would you please raise your right hand? Mr. Jimenez, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes.
Okay, you may put your hand down. Now, let me do this again. Now, Mr. Jimenez, I have before me an information that alleges that on or about August 28 of 2020, while you in Jefferson County, Texas, that you committed the Class B misdemeanor offense of failure to identify fictitious name. Mr. Jimenez, do you understand what you've been charged with?
Yes, sir.
And to this charge, Mr. Jimenez, how do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, or no contest?
No contest.
Now, are you pleading no contest freely and voluntarily?
Yes, sir.
And are you pleading no contest because you do not wish to fight or contest the charges?
Yes.
Mr. Jimenez, I have before me a document that is titled the Misdemeanor Plea Admonishment. Do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
And at the bottom of this document, I see there's a set of initials. At the bottom, are these your initials?
Yes, sir.
And it's next to a paragraph that's titled citizenship. Are you a U.S. citizen?
No.
Okay. If you're not a U.S., well, what country are you from?
From Mexico.
Okay. If you're not a U.S. citizen, a plea of guilty or nolo contendere may result in your deportation, exclusion from admission, or denial of naturalization under federal law. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Now, on page 2 of the same document, Mr. Jimenez, there are a set of initials on the line next to the box that says check nolo contendere, which means no contest. Did you place your initials on this document?
Yes, I did.
And on page 3 of this same document, Mr. Jimenez, there's a signature above the line that's titled defendant. Is that your signature?
Yes.
And on the next document, which is the trial court certification of defendant's right of appeal, do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
And is that your signature above the line that's titled defendant?
Yes.
There are 2 boxes that are checked at the top of this document. The first box states that this is a plea bargain case and you have no right of appeal. Do you understand that?
Yes.
The second box states that you're waiving, which means you're giving up your right to an appeal. Do you understand that?
Yes.
You have the discovery certification. Mr. Jimenez, I have before me a document that is titled the discovery certification. Do you recognize this document?
Yes.
Is this your signature above the line that's titled defendant?
Yes.
Now, Mr. Jimenez, prior to signing and initialing these documents that I've just mentioned, did your attorney, Mr. Wendler, go over these documents with you? Did your attorney go over these documents with you? Did your attorney go over these documents with you?
Yes.
Okay. And did you read and understand everything in these documents?
Yes, I did.
And is everything in these documents true and correct to the best of your knowledge? Okay. Now, state, I have before me state's exhibit number 1. State, you like to offer state's exhibit number 1?
Yes, Your Honor, and the state would also offer state's exhibit number 2, the probable cause.
Any
affidavit.
objections?
No objections.
Okay, no objections. State's exhibits number 1 and state's exhibit number 2 are admitted. Mr. Wendler, you have advised and counseled Mr. Jimenez. Is there any evidence that he is currently mentally incompetent to stand trial?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Jimenez, your attorney, Mr. Wendler, has advised and counseled you. Are you satisfied with his representation?
Yes.
Has he provided full, effective, and competent legal representation?
Yes.
Mr. Jimenez, I will accept your plea of no contest. I will find that you are mentally competent to stand trial. I will also find that your plea of no contest and waivers were freely and voluntarily given. State, do we have a plea bargain agreement?
Yes, Your Honor.
And what is that agreement?
It's a 40 days jail, probated for 1 year, a $500 fine plus court costs, and 40 hours community service. And this case is to run concurrent with his other cause number 329848.
Mr. Jimenez, the state is offering that you serve 40 days in the Jefferson County Jail in this case. However, you would not have to serve any time in jail on this case because your jail time will be probated for 12 months. During the 12-month probationary period, you will be required to pay a fine of $500 plus court costs of $307, which comes to a total of fine and court costs of $807. You will be required to, in this case, you will not be required to pay a probation fee. You will be required to pay a urinalysis fee, and your total monthly installments that you would have to pay for this case is $90 a month. Are you able to pay the $90 a month?
Yes.
You will be required to perform 40 hours of community service and adhere to the other standard terms of this probation. And this probation will run concurrently with cause number 329848. Mr. Jimenez, do you understand the state's offer?
Yes.
And do you think that the state's offer in your case is fair and just?
Yes.
And do you accept the state's offer?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Jimenez, I'll follow the plea bargain agreement that you have entered into with the state. Now, Mr. Jimenez, you have a second case. This case is cause number 329848. And Mr. Jimenez, the information in this case alleges that on or about April 4th of 2021, that you, while you were operating a motor vehicle in a public place, that you committed the Class B misdemeanor offense of driving while intoxicated. Mr. Jimenez, do you understand what you've been charged with?
Yes.
And to this charge, how do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, or no contest?
No contest.
Now, are you pleading no contest freely and voluntarily?
Yes.
And are you pleading no contest because you do not wish to fight or contest the charges?
Yes.
Mr. Jimenez, I have before me a document that is titled the misdemeanor plea admonishments. On page 1 of this document, there's a set of initials at the bottom of this document.
Yes.
Are these your initials?
Yes.
And it's next to the paragraph that states, if you're not a U.S. citizen on a plea of guilty or nolle contendere, may result in your deportation, exclusion from admission, or denial of naturalization under federal law. Do you understand that?
I understand.
And you are not a U.S. citizen, is that correct?
That's correct.
And on page 3 of this same document, Mr. Jimenez, on page 2 of the same document, Mr. Jimenez, there's a set of initials on the line next to the box that's titled nolle contendere. Are these your initials?
Yes.
Okay. And on the 3rd page of the same document, Mr. Jimenez, there is a signature above the line that's titled defendant. Is that your signature?
Yes, it is.
It is?
Yes.
And on the next document, which is the trial court certification of defendant's right of appeal, Mr. Jimenez, do you recognize this document?
Yes, it is.
And is that your signature above the line that's titled defendant?
Yes.
There are 2 boxes that's checked at the top of this document. The first box states that this is a plea bargain case and you have no right of appeal. Do you understand that?
Yes.
And the second box states that you're waiving, which means you're giving up your right to appeal. Do you understand that?
Yes.
You have this discovery certification in this case. Mr. Jimenez, I have before me a document that is titled the discovery certification.